Have you ever wondered how to make more money? There's a lot of conversation around this. There's a lot of ideas and topics. And what I want to share with you today is what I believe to be the 4 levels of making money. Now, what's interesting is that each of these levels, while they all require work, are not equal. And even just looking at my own business and looking at, the progression throughout my business and building that, I can tell you this: not all money is equal. What do I mean by that? Different revenue has a different impact on your business. And learning that first and foremost is going to be extremely important to building a successful business, because when you see that money coming in, you're going to have a different lens to view that from, right? You're going to be able to see the value, the real value of what that money is. For example, I'll give you an example. High ticket revenue. High ticket revenue is wonderful. It's great. But you know what is actually a better quality of revenue? Reoccurring revenue. Even if the reoccurring revenue is lower. And so, just like in the same way that there's different clients, some clients are better than other clients, it's the same way with revenue. And if it's the same thing with revenue, it's also the same thing with revenue producing activities. And that is wealth creation, creating wealth. Now, if you just take a look at your day and take a look at all the things that you're doing in your day, regardless of whatever it is, let's just say 8 hours a day, you're spending 8 hours doing X, right? Whatever it is. Now, time-wise, it could be the same. You could take 2 activities, spend eight hours doing each. That's the same amount of time. However, they're not going to yield the same result. And one of the things that you need to do in your business is take inventory of the activity that you're spending your time on and whether or not it's actually driving revenue to the business. Because let me just tell you, this is, as a creative entrepreneur, man, this is a difficult one. This is really hard because there are so many things that we think are driving revenue in our business. There are so many things that we're like, I'm learning how to color grade. I'm learning how to get the look in this particular movie, or I'm learning how to, and the reality of it is it's adding absolutely zero to the bottom line of your business. It's just the reality. Or you're saying, hey, I need this new lens. I need this new camera. I need this new, and it adds absolutely zero. Matter of fact, it actually takes away from your revenue. And so, you really have to be disciplined, and you really have to have a trained eye to think about this in a business way. And so that's what I want to help bring some clarity around. That's what I want to show you today. So the 4 levels of wealth creation. The first one is going to be labor. And what's interesting, if you look at a lot of people that come from poverty, like myself, this is the one that everybody prides themselves on. It's like, I'm the hardest worker I know. I'll work 14 hours, 16 hours. Like, it's this badge of honor. And let me just tell you, I wore that badge for a really long time, thinking that it was my hard work that is going to be what creates wealth. I'll never forget, I heard this quote from a multi-millionaire. He's probably a billionaire. And he said, you cannot work your way into wealth. And man, I'll tell you what, it just, first of all, it caused an immediate like, what is this dude talking about? Like, you know what I mean? Like, yo, you don't know what you're talking about. He doesn't know what he's talking about, right? And so it immediately was like offensive to me. Why? Because the hard work, the labor that I pride myself on, and that I've prided myself on, that people in my neighborhood, people I grew up with, we all pride ourselves on this hard work ethic. It's not really that valuable. Now, obviously working hard is valuable. You can't go to the opposite extreme where you're just lazy, but it's not your hard work that is going to command wealth. Think about it. For any person in any organization or company, the guy who makes the most is not doing the most work per se, right? Like, he's not doing the most labor. He's carrying other responsibilities, or he has a unique skill set, or he has a unique knowledge or something like that. But it's not simply based on labor. If so, then the people who work the hardest would make the most money. And we simply know that that is not true. People who are doing the most labor are not always making the most money, and most of the time are not. And so this one is a huge, you really need to look at yourself, especially if you come from, poverty, or you come from an upbringing of not having a lot. Because in the circles that we're in the ways that we were brought up, we've been conditioned to wear that badge of pride of labor. It's like, I work my fingers to the bone. I'm up, I'm the first one up and the last one to go to sleep and all this kind of stuff. Like it's a pseudo type of achievement. And it's actually one that I would say has been kind of brainwashed into the workers, the working class, the ones that are needed. Think about it. If you owned a factory, and in order to make that factory work, you needed a bunch of laborers. Wouldn't it be smart to get those laborers to consider their labor as a source of pride? Yeah, it would be really, really smart for you to do that. And that's actually what I believe has been done. And this is why amongst a lot of people in poverty, we pride ourselves on labor, not education, which is a lot of times, the next class up, they pride themselves on education and things like that. But you can just take a step back and look at different social economic classes in society and look at what they pride themselves on. That's a good indication as to kind of the message, the story, that they're playing into. And so the first level is going to be labor. The next level might surprise you. It's actually leadership. And I know if there's 4 levels, you might be thinking, man, isn't leadership the highest? And I would say, no, it's not. And once again, I think that this is where we've kind of bought into an idea about leadership. I think leadership is extremely important. And once again, all of these things are going to build upon each other, right? Like you can't have leadership without having labor, whether yourself or someone else, or, leadership is learning how to maximize and learning how to lead, right? And so the next one is leadership. And this is important because this is now where you're going to communicate with other people to get things done. But here's the trick with this one. You're not just going to communicate with them to how to get things done, because that in and of itself would be more like management. You're going to communicate with these people how to get things done while at the same time helping them get things done. And this is where this one becomes a little difficult, because not only are you responsible to lead yourself and to help lead this person, but you're also kind of taking on and assuming some of the debt, if you will, of what it is that the people you're leading are actually wanting to do or needing to do, right? You're taking on their burden. You're helping to lead them, right, to a destination, and you're assuming some of the responsibility over their life in helping to lead them. You're making an investment. And this is where a lot of people don't get into. A lot of people will say, I just want to have, I just want to build a business by myself, or I don't really like leading people. I don't like interacting with people. I don't like, but the reality of it is that that's just a cop out for you not wanting to level up. And you can do that. And I'm sure that there's people who have done that, who became multimillionaires, but it's very rare. And it's something you just like, why risk it on that? It's like, yeah, there's people that have, struck it big in Vegas gambling, but why would you want to make that, your strategy for life? Don't do that. And so therefore, lean into leadership, learn how to lead, and learn how to actually execute in this area, this level of creating wealth. The next level of creating wealth is what I would call leverage. And this is where you're using a stick to move a boulder that is bigger than yourself. And so this is where we can just get the classical idea of leverage, moving something that you couldn't move by leveraging something else. This requires a certain level of big thinking. Sometimes when people see obstacles, they go, man, I can't do that. That obstacle is just too big for me and I don't even want to try. But there's people in this leverage area where they go, you know what? If I got the right people, I bet you I could do that. If I connected to the right source, if I discovered a developer, if I, they're always looking to leverage something in order to get something else. If I just learn how to run Facebook ads, I could start dumping money in there. This is where you're taking your big idea that is bigger than yourself and you're learning how to systematically implement and incorporate things in order to pull that lever back, move something that you couldn't have moved. And so when you get into, people like leverage, like this is where you see people creating wealth with real estate. They're not creating the houses. They're not building the houses most of the time. They might be renovating or doing something like that, but they're simply taking a product. They're taking a market, they're using capital, and they're leveraging it. Like they're investors. This is where you get more of that investing type thing. But you could also too have human capital or human investments. You can invest in people. You can invest in systems. You can invest in software. There's all sorts of things. But the idea is you're creating wealth through leveraging other things. And the last level of wealth building is going to be legacy. And this is where you are creating legacy inside of other people that are then going on to create wealth that is also paying you back, that is also creating wealth. So you're like creating mini wealth builders, people that are a part of your system or people that you have poured into that are now creating wealth on their own in those 4 levels. And they're also too directly tied back into you, and you're receiving from that as well. And let me just tell you, this is where it becomes effortless. This is where it becomes, this is where you get people that are doing things like writing a book or creating a course. But at scale, right? Not just one thing, like actually being able to make a living off of book sales, right? Like that is legacy. They have released some of their intellectual property, their IP into the world. They've monetized it. They've set it up with a mechanism. They've leveraged people to help the audience grow. They've done all of these things. And now they're creating legacy into the marketplace. And it is paying them and paying them and paying them. And they're creating wealth simply from their legacy. They're raising up other students, other people. They're doing things that are carrying on multi-generational. They're creating a legacy and at the same time creating wealth through that legacy. Creating wealth has different levels to it. Not all activities are equal. And so therefore, when you're looking at what you need to do to create wealth, you need to kind of look at it through a lens of going like, man, what activities should I be prioritizing and what activities precede the next one? In other words, you might have an idea about legacy, but first you need to do leadership. And then you move into leverage, and then you move into legacy. And so I hope this gives you at least a little bit of a bird's eye view on how to create wealth. And these are the exact same systems that I'm utilizing in my own life right now to be able to create wealth, to grow business, to maximize impact, and do all of these things that I desire to do. So I hope that was helpful. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts were. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. I will answer them personally. Until next time, you were created to do good work.